Hello, my friends. My name is Harold, and welcome to the Sanctum, your gateway into learning and exploring the ancient wisdom and teachings of the East and the West. If you're new to this channel, please remember to subscribe and like this video. It'll help this channel grow. So now in this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about thoughts and how powerful our thoughts are and how our thoughts can actually become living entities that can begin to slowly rule our lives and guide us to either disastrous places or very constructive and positive places, depending on the nature of these thought entities that we create without even realizing it. So right now, even as you're watching this video, you've probably created innumerable thought entities, both positive and negative, that are affecting you in various ways. And this is actually a very old science of mind, body, and reality. And by the end of this video, I hope to give you an understanding of how our mind works and some of these ancient hidden sciences of reality. So for that reason, please ensure you watch till the end of this video so that you can learn a lot more about these entities that you may be creating unconsciously and how to make them a bit more conscious so that you can begin to now constructively take your life in the direction that you'd like to go. So every thought that we have is being created in a subtler plane. Okay. So right now, if I tell you to think of a black cat, you've thought of a black cat, you've created a black cat somewhere. Okay. Even if I tell you to think of a pink elephant, you've thought of a pink elephant. You had no control over that. No matter how much you try to stop thinking about that purple tiger, you end up thinking about that purple tiger. So right now, just by using these words, I was able to plant the image of a purple tiger into your mind space, let's call it. So right now, you've created a purple tiger in what we call the thought plane. Some people may call it the astral. There isn't actually a proper definition for this, so we'll just call it the astral for now. So right now, you've created this purple tiger, and there's a purple tiger perhaps walking or carrying out some kind of activity in your astral field, right, in your astral plane, in your personal astral plane. So that thought may have come up here or here or here. Somewhere you've created it. You can't see it in your room. You can't take a physical stick and touch this purple tiger that you've created because it's not physical in nature. It's not here, but you created it somewhere. You could see it in your mind's eye. So this is kind of a weak thought because you've just had it and you've not put a lot of attention into it. You've not put a lot of emotion into it. You've just thought of a purple tiger. That's it. Yeah. But now, what if you've thought about something you don't want to manifest in your life, something you're worried about, something you're afraid of, something you really hope doesn't happen to you, or something related to your work or your relationship or a loved one of yours or something else. We've all had these thoughts, and in some way in this subtler plane, this thought plane, this astral dimension, we've created that situation, right? So that thought starts to slowly become real there. This is why when we focus on it, we can sometimes be dragged into this world where this negative thing might be happening. And in some way we start to get anxious, we start to get worried, we start to get fearful. And in that way we start to pour energy into that thought, bringing it more and more to life. But it's the same thing when we think about something positive or something beautiful happening in our lives, something wonderful happening in our lives, and we start to focus on that and we get dragged into that world where everything is awesome and nice, and we start to feel good emotions, and we start to pour all those emotions into that particular thought. So when we start to do this, whatever this thought might be, this thought starts to slowly become alive, right? And it becomes what we call a thought form. So a thought form is essentially a thought, any thought that's created by mind, that begins to become charged with energy and alive, and can begin to have control over your life in its own terms. Yeah. It's just like after you may have thought of a negative thought and you put so much energy into it, because where attention goes, energy flows, that it becomes stronger and stronger and more alive, and little by little it'll start to pull you into its world when you don't want to go into its world. You want to do your own thing. You want to think positive. You want to be calm. But little by little, it'll start to pull you into this world. And little by little, it may start to even manifest into your life. Or it might even have control over you and put you in situations you don't want to be in. For example, let's say an individual walks into a supermarket and slips and falls on a wet floor or something, right? And he goes, oh, okay, that's a bit strange. And then he forgets about it. And then again he comes in, and in another supermarket he slips and falls. And then he starts to create a pattern and thinks, okay, every time he goes into a supermarket, he slips and falls. And that's the thought he's created. That's the program. That's the thought form he starts to create. And now he starts to worry about this, that every time he walks into a supermarket, he slip and fall. And he starts to be worried about this. And he starts to bring this thought form to life. And the more he thinks about it, the more his inner observer will find reasons or proof that this thought form is a real thing. Now every time he goes into a supermarket, he might be very cautiously walking in, and something might happen and he might slip and fall, or something would happen. Because now this particular thought form has become almost like a separate entity that he created, that has power over him and is influencing his life under certain parameters, which is whenever he enters a supermarket. But he created it, he programmed it, and it's becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay. How many times have you heard yourself saying, oh, every time this happens, this particular thing happens, or every time this particular person comes into my life, this particular thing happens, or like this? And we start making connections with our mind, and we start to create these little thought forms that float around us and take control over our lives in a particular way. I like to call these things floating gloomies. Okay, so that's what I'll call it from now on. These little floating gloomies that start to float around us and take control over us. But we created them. We gave them power by allowing our mind to flow and start creating, because that's the nature of our mind. It's a very powerful creative tool. Okay, so is it possible then, if we can create these negative floating gloomies that may cause problems in our lives, is it possible to create a more positive thought form that can maybe serve us positively? Maybe bring clients into our lives, or bring money into our lives, or bring love into our lives, or protect us in some way, or protect the things that we have, or bring a teacher to us, or bring us knowledge or answers to a particular question. Well, of course. Of course you can, because that's the nature of the mind. Right. And I will be talking more about this. It's an ancient and very powerful science of how we can actually create a living thought programmed in a particular way so that we can allow it to be, and it can bring us all sorts of things, whatever it is that we want, right? Whether it's material or spiritual in nature. And it's extremely powerful. And by understanding this science, we can also learn to get rid and put an end to these negative thought forms, these floating gloomies that we may be creating without us even realizing. So For that reason, please subscribe to this channel and please like this video, because I'll be releasing more videos on this subject, and how you can begin to master this science and begin to create your own thought forms that can help improve your life in the way that you'd like. Now, there are also collective thought forms that can rule a particular collective, so like a family or a business or a set of friends or a group of people, an organization. We call these egregores, and I'll make another video on egregores soon. Whereas a thought form is more singular, is more of a single thought created by an individual. So how do we put an end to some of these thought forms? Well, first of all, we focus on the habit. We simply close our eyes, we relax a bit, go into a meditative state, and we focus on that particular thought form that we want to put an end to. We notice the patterns that are there in our lives, and we wonder, how are these patterns actually manifesting in our lives? Did we create them? Right? And if we did create them, most of the time we have, we focus on it and we try to contact that particular thought form. And it's simple as focusing on it and say, I reject that, putting an end to it. Because that's the nature of the mind, where attention goes, energy flows. Because you've been focusing on that thought all the time, your energy is going there and you're feeding it. But this time when you notice that your mind is going there and is feeding it, instead of allowing your mind to go there, you willfully say, I reject it, I put an end to it, I destroy it. And you create the opposite version. Right? So if you're going to say, take the same example of the guy walking into the supermarket, slipping and falling, this time, every time he notices worrying about going into a supermarket, he says, no, I reject that, I destroy that. And now I focus on making a new pattern where every time I walk into a supermarket, I feel calm and everything goes smoothly. I find everything that I need, everything goes really well. And he starts to reprogram it to do the opposite. And little by little, that new thought form will be created that will affect him in that way. So you can do that yourselves. Now, this is actually a much deeper topic that goes into all sorts of deeper things, and ways that you can use this science. And I will go deeper into this subject. So I hope this all makes sense. Thank you. Take care. And I shall see you very soon. Peace.